evening, ghosts and ghouls. You're listening to a horrible podcast.
Good evening. It's the one, the only, JT Ripper, and I'm here with
Todd of Thunder.
And we're here with some horrible hot takes today. It's
Absolutely.
It's going to be our opinions that are probably going to be a little bit unpopular.
Yeah, basically we're going off of things that we have opinions on that might not be shared by the rest of the horror community. That's why we're calling them horrible hot takes.
Yeah, and like, what is it, Cody Lee said, you know, everybody's got an asshole. Don't mean you have to be one, so.
Yeah, this is basically just what we've come up with some stuff that we know would be a little bit controversial. We know, we read news online. We watch videos by other people. We pretty much have a sense of what people, like, the consensus are with certain topics.
And categories and stuff like that. What's accepted, what's not accepted, what's considered shit, what's not considered shit. We all know that universally that Troll 2 is possibly one of the worst horror movies, but I hate to tell you there's a little bit worse.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving?
Yeah, we're not going to defend that type of movie, but there might be other movies that get shitted on that we think is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, my first horror hot take is I think that 2019-2020 Candyman is dog shit.
I concur.
I hate that movie.
Yeah, to me, that movie is it's a vessel without a commander. It tries to go in the right direction, but I think it falls flat as far as the storyline goes. And I believe that because Jordan Peele is attached to it, people watch this thinking that it was just like this, like, really smart take on, an old school slasher film. And to me, it ended up being incoherent and unimpressive.
Yeah. And then, not to mention the political stuff that the feminist director wanted to pursue and put in.
Yeah.
That's why the lead girl is such a strong character compared to the guy that winds up being Candyman, and that because she's an outspoken feminist, and that's fine. That's cool if you're into that. But leave the horror movies alone. Make your own movie. I'm sorry that you're not talented enough, or nobody will buy your bullshit enough to let you make a movie. So you take a well-established franchise and use it to your own.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of what they're doing right now to Velma from Scooby-Doo.
That's exactly what they're doing.
For those of you who don't know, there's a show on HBO Max called Velma, and it's supposed to be a, like, grown-up, like, almost South Park-ish edition of Scooby-Doo without Scooby-Doo. And the thing about it is it's centered around Velma, but Velma is not Velma. Velma is a different race. It's a different color. Fred is still the white guy, but he's the bumbling buffoon. Yeah. And Shaggy is a black dude who is against smoking marijuana. And Daphne, I don't even know what Daphne is, but Daphne...
She's of Asian descent.
Yeah, it's basically one of these things where it's a total woke, pushing a narrative, leftist bullshit view. But like you said, they took something that was already established and
used it
instead of being creative and coming up with their own animated show that they possibly could get, I mean, it would still suck, but at least I would know to stay away from it. At least I wouldn't think, oh, well, here's something Scooby-Doo related, and I love Scooby-Doo, and I go to watch it, and it just fucking makes me sick to my stomach.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what Candyman is, and if you're out there, and I know you're not listening, but who gives a shit? This is my message to you. If you're going to remake a movie, leave your bullshit politics and your narrative out of it, especially if it wasn't there to begin with. Right. There was no... The only social commentary on the original Candyman was the fact that Candyman had been killed during the kind of the slave days. But they didn't make that a bullet point. They didn't make it so where, oh, well, he was killed in the slave days, so now he's going after all the white people. No, he killed everybody because evil doesn't see color, evil doesn't see race, evil is just evil. In the new Candyman, they show glimpses of him being evil, but it was mostly a narrative of old white people are evil and they get what they deserve.
Yeah, pretty much. But we're not going to beat a dead horse because we've talked about this. My next horror hot take is that I think Hollow Man is a way better movie than any version of The Invisible Man.
Wow. Let me see if I agree with that. I
think Hollow Man is the movie that The Invisible Man wishes it could have been.
Well, depends on what Invisible Man you're talking about.
Any of them.
I don't know.
Any of them.
I really like the first Invisible Man with Claude Rains from 1932, I believe.
I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying Hollow Man's better.
Well, it's certainly more update and to our liking, and it involves more science and more, it's more of a movie. Of course, you got Kevin Bacon and stuff in there. I would say, in my opinion, it's on par with the very first Invisible Man. And every single movie that came out after that involved the actual Invisible Man might have not been dog shit, but it wasn't. Like, I think at one time they turned him into a Secret Service agent.
They did.
And they got, away from the horror, and they went more of an action thing. Yeah. And I'll say this. Piggybacking off of what you just said, I throw this into one of my hot takes.
Okay.
I don't think that the last version of The Invisible Man was all that fucking great.
I thought it was stupid and trash.
I did not like the lead character. I thought that she did. I get all this bad thing that's happening to her, but she had the charisma of a fucking pebble, which made me not give a shit. And the way that they pulled it off, it was a one-time watch. I didn't enjoy it. I'm going to be honest with you. In my opinion, the movie that they made with Tom Cruise, The Mummy,
yeah,
it wasn't a great movie either, but it was 10 times more entertaining than this Invisible Man shit. It was, honestly, it put me in fucking sleep, to be honest with you.
True. All right. You got another hot take? Or you want me to keep rolling?
Just keep on rolling, and as they come to me, I'll say them.
Nope. Sucks. It's boring. I don't like it. I don't understand the praise for it. It is not even in the top 20 best sci-fi movies.
Well, I've only seen the first 5 minutes of this, and I did not care to watch the rest. I could tell that this movie was going to be one of those films where it might keep me on my edge of my seat to see what happens next, just because I want something to happen next.
Right.
But then the end comes and it's absolutely nothing, and the credits roll, and judging by your assessment, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, it fell flat, very flat. Flatter than a plate full of piss. It was fucking flat. Didn't like it. It was boring. Sorry if you do. Tell me why you like it. The original Friday the 13th is not the best one in the franchise. It's not even the second best, honestly. I think part 2 is better than part 1.
Oh, I do too. And it's not because
I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think the other ones are more entertaining. There's more entertaining ones, more better driven ones.
yeah,
I like Jason versus Mama Jason.
well, my favorite Friday the 13th is the fourth one, which is the final chapter. And, you know, when I'm putting them in order, maybe the original falls at like maybe number 6 or 7. So that's how many other movies in the franchise that I like better.
Yeah.
To me, it's not because it's Jason's mom doing the killing, and it's not because Jason is the killer in the other one. I don't know. To me, it's, you know, I don't know what it is, but I don't hate the original one at all. I mean, there's, you know,
this ain't me saying that the original's bad. On the contrary, it's a very good movie. It's just I don't think it's the best.
Yeah, I don't think it's the best either.
And to give a quote from our friend Brandon, just because it's first, don't make it the best.
Yeah, that's very true. And, you know, sticking with the Friday the 13th theme, I truly believe, and I've said this over and over and over and over, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I think that part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, gets a lot of hate and gets a lot of, you know, people just shit on that movie, and I don't know why, because everybody that I talk to that's my friend, they all say they love that movie.
Oh, you know I love that movie.
And
I fuck with it.
It's in my top 5 favorite of the series. Sorry, but everything about it.
It's not even in New York. It's in Canada. And half of it should be Jason's on a cruise ship, not Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't matter what excuse that they come up with. I like it. I always will like it. So, you know, that's one of my hot takes. And, you know, if nobody else likes it, that's fine. You know,
Yeah.
more for fucking me. But it's almost universal, like when you go to websites or when you hear a countdown or when you hear somebody on YouTube doing their countdown of their favorite Friday. It's
Yeah.
always at the bottom.
Yeah, it's stupid. You can't tell me that Jason Goes to Hell is better than Jason Takes Manhattan. No goddamn way.
I don't believe it.
Ain't no goddamn way, baby. All right, so my next hot take, and this is a hot take within the horror community, is about Hereditary. It sucks. Hereditary is not a good movie. It is not a classic. It's fucking boring. You take one scene out of that movie, the best part, and what do you have? There's no substance to it. It's boring. It's drawn out. There's no payoff at the end.
Yeah,
It's a good movie if you've never seen a fucking horror movie before, probably.
well, you know, the first 20 minutes of the movie is the movie. It's the selling point. Everything else after that movie, I don't know what it's trying to be. I don't know what it's trying to do. I don't know if it's trying to...
I hated all the characters.
I don't know if it's trying to show dread and grief and all that stuff. I mean, I don't know. To me, the movie is one of the most overrated films I've ever seen. I watched it, and I didn't think it was too bad, but I'm like, what's all the fuss about? Speaking
Right.
of that, let me jump in here while I'm thinking about it, because I might forget it.
That's cool. I got my list. I ain't gonna forget.
The one movie that came out a few years ago that people were like all up in arms about, saying, oh my God, this is great. This is amazing. This is it. And then I watched it and I'm like, what's all the big fucking fuss about? And it's a movie called Drag Me to Hell. And people was like saying that was like the next big horror film because Sam Raimi directed it. Let me tell you something. Okay. Name of movie, not name Evil Dead, in the horror series that Sam Raimi is known for. Nothing. He's known for Evil Dead and Spider-fucking-Man.
Spider-Man.
So just because the goddamn son of a bitch left horror after three movies and made Spider-Man doesn't mean that when he comes back to the horror genre, the son of a goddamn bitch is going to make a classic. Like, suck my fucking cock sideways.
You hate Drag Me to Hell that bad?
No, I don't hate it. I'm just saying it was overhyped like a son of a bitch. The CGI in it was terrible. It was about an old gypsy lady with a funny fucking eye. It was kind of basically it was a fucking updated version of Stephen King's Thinner, where the old gypsy puts the curse on the guy and the guy continues to lose weight until he fucking is all skin and bone. Well, that's what this is. This woman fucked over this old gypsy fuck or whatever, and they put a curse on her, and now, like, the devil or whatever the fuck's coming for. And it's okay. I'm not saying the movie sucks. I'm just saying people, like, talked about it like it was the next big thing in horror, and it was only the next thing in horror to me.
Right. Okay. I guess that. That's cool. My next horror hot take. I've said it once, I've said it again, and anytime I get a chance to bring it up, I'm going to. Before I hit puberty again. There is no Ring movie that is any good. Not one of them. I don't like any of them. I think they're all dog shit. I hate The Ring. I hate The Ring 2. I hate Ring U. Ring U suck me off. Whatever. None of them are any good, and the concept is trash. Well, fuck them.
I like the first one.
That's your opinion.
But I didn't like the first one until I watched it a few times, and then I'm okay with it. It's one of those things where all the other ones are so fucking terrible, it makes the first one look pretty good. Because The Ring 2 is by far one of the worst goddamn movies I've ever seen in my life. The worst CGI, especially when they're in the car and all them deers come out.
I was going to say the CGI deer.
And, you know, I haven't seen any of the Japanese movies because I do not watch Japanese horror movies. That's a hot take for you. I think Japanese horror movies are fucking terrible.
Hey, that's my next horror hot take. Japanese horror movies are not good.
No, Japan, in my world, is known for making pretty decent wrestling video games, the Aki versions. And they're pretty good at doing Godzilla shit. They're not good at
horror movies. I mean, great action movies, great kung fu movies, anime. I mean, of course, anime's, going to be anime. It's good shit, pal. But horror, they do not have a good concept. I'm sorry. You can talk about the Train to Saiban or whatever it's called.
Busan.
Boo on a goose to you because I don't like it. I didn't think it was... I didn't like the movie.
I don't know if that was Japanese. It might have been Korean.
Whatever. Anything from that part of the country, I don't like. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the cinematography, it's the storytelling, it's the acting. I just can't get into it.
Yeah. Don't like any Asian-based horror films. I think they're pretty stupid.
Yeah, like the whole, when something happens, everything just fades to white. No. Lazy movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see. My next horror hot take is that Predator 2 is better than Predator 1. Fight me. Danny Glover is a much more believable character and someone that I can relate with than Arnold.
Yeah, I've had this opinion for a long time. I enjoy Predator 2 way better than Predator, Not that I hate the first Predator. It's just I find Danny Glover being a regular police guy to be more intriguing trying to fight off an alien from outer space than a fucking jacked up, roid up Arnold Schwarzenegger and his band of jacked up, roid up fucking soldiers.
With an arsenal of weapons.
With an arsenal of weapons. And here Danny Glover is, you know, with his little 44, and you know what I'm saying? And yeah.
Not to mention the gore in it's a lot better.
Yeah, I think the gore in it's a lot better. I think it has moments in it that will make you laugh. It has great chase scenes. It has good music. The characters in it, fucking Bill Paxton plays in it, for Christ's sakes.
Bill fucking Paxton.
And, you know, like I said, in the first Predator movie, it's almost, I don't know. I feel like it's more of a macho movie, as most of the movies in the 80s were that had Arnold and Sylvester Stallone and all that. Yeah. And it's like, you might have killed all these other macho men, but I am the ultimate macho man type of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, I love the fucking movie. I'm not shitting on it, but I'm just comparing it.
Yeah, this is just a hot take.
Certainly there's no other Predator movie besides Part 2 that I think is better than the original Predator.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with you on that 100%.
All right, next horror hot take. Happy Death Day is meh. It's overrated.
I like the first one. It was Groundhog Day meets horror, which is okay. My problem came with Part 2. I thought Part 2 was absolutely shit on the bottom of my fucking shoe.
I really didn't like either. I mean, the first one's okay at best. I just don't understand why so many people are, like, hyped about this movie and, like, praise it so much and calling it the best horror comedy. It's not. It's got plot holes in it. I can't stand her acting at some parts. Yeah,
I mean, I don't have a problem with the first one. The second one, though, I fucking hate. It never should have been made.
The Nun is not scary, and
it should be.
It should be. The Nun should be the best movie in the Conjuring series.
It should be the one that pushes the boundaries the most. It should be the one that goes for the rated R rating. It should be the one that you can point to and say, God damn, it's more kills and it's more gore and it's more everything to it. But at the end of the day, it's still a decent movie, but it wasn't all that it could have been. At the end of the day, it's just another semi-boring fucking religious horror film. Just like the rest of them.
Yeah. Like, it's just not a good movie. And if if it wasn't for La Llorona, it would be the worst one in the Conjuring universe.
That's another hot take. Most movies that are religious-based, that have to do with a church, that have to do with preachers, that have to do with exorcism, that has to do with all that stuff, most of them are fucking boring because all of them are trying to copy The Exorcist, and they will never fucking get there. I don't give a fuck if 200 years from now they make a movie based on The Exorcist. It still won't be as good. It won't be as real. It won't be as raw. It won't have that a genuine emotion to it.
Yeah.
It just won't. And I'm not saying that religious-based horror movies are all bad. I'm just saying all of them have a standard to live up to, and they never can meet it. It's just like when you see a shark movie. No movie. I don't give a fuck if you talk about Deep Blue Sea, which is a great movie. I don't give a fuck if you talk about any shark movie. It will never fucking live up to Jaws. Jaws is on top. Everything else is just there. Just like The Exorcist is on top, and every other religious movie of that nature is just there.
I agree. Don't try to... It's like when you try to copy your friend's homework and you fuck up tremendously, and it's like,
Yeah.
why.
Right.
All right, this is another hot take. Evil Dead 2013 is the most brutal one out of all of the series, and is the second best one
Well,
behind Evil Dead 2. This is just my horror hot take. Me and Todd don't always agree eye to eye on things.
wait a minute. Had to get that out.
You're so fucking disgusting. I hate you.
13 was good. I'm kind of neutral. I honestly, the most fun Evil Dead movie is Army of Darkness. That's the most fun. Evil Dead 2 is basically a remake of the first one with a little bit more bigger budget and a little bit more comedy thrown into it and better acting. You know, by this point, Sam Raimi was more of a seasoned director at this point, so it was a little bit better. But I think the thing that caught people's eyes on the first Evil Dead is kind of like the way we view Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, we look at the first one as so real and raw and nothing could touch it. And I think a lot of people view Evil Dead that way. That might have touched them that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when we get to 2013 Evil Dead, we're talking about a bigger budget. We're talking about more tools to work with. And I think that it's just on par with it. I don't think it's better. I think it's on par, because I think that the original Evil Dead was better because they made a great movie with less.
I can understand that.
But as far as a movie, I enjoy all of them. Like, I don't say, oh, well, this one sucks, and I skip this one, and I enjoy all of them. If I want to laugh my ass off, I watch Army of Darkness. If I want a complete movie with everything, I'll watch Evil Dead 2. If I want to see that, early rawness, I'll watch the first Evil Dead. And if I want to watch something newer and updated, I'll watch 2013.
Right.
It's like no skin off my sack.
Jack, next horror hot take. Sydney is the best final girl.
Yeah, you've told me that.
I mean, it's just hard to. She's smart.
I think
She's clever.
the most
she's
consistent.
badass.
I think she's the most consistent.
And also, the thing is, people are like, well, the Scream series, you might call it stupid, but she has taken down not the same person over, but multiple people.
Yeah.
So it's not just trying to overcome one killer. She has overcome multiple killers.
Yeah, and the last Scream movie was literally the first Scream that she was not a part of. So we've had 5 movies that I think are pretty consistent movies of her being a badass. Even when you talk about Jamie Lee Curtis in the Halloween, you have Halloween 1 and 2, and you don't get her back until 20 fucking years later.
Yeah.
So, and, me and you were talking, and I said, what about Ripley from the Alien films? And you're like, yeah, but again, like how I described Evil Dead 1981 compared to 2013.
Yeah.
You said, well, Ripley's a soldier. She has all these fucking weapons to go off of. Sydney is just a regular girl.
Yeah.
So, she doesn't have a fucking suit that she gets in that can pick up a fucking alien and rip him in half.
Exactly.
She basically has to be, outsmart him the best way she can.
Yeah, she's just a bad bitch at the end of the day. Like, she's not like no special martial artist or, expert gun person. She's just a bad, tough bitch.
Yeah, as far as movie franchises go, being consistent, the Sidney Prescott, played by Neve Campbell, might be the best final girl ever. Maybe it'll be a little different if we just talk about individual movies, just like individual, but as a series, yeah, I don't think you can argue much against it.
I mean, there might be somebody to debate me, but hey, bring it on. I'm open. I'm open here. All right. There's going to be a good horror hot take that a lot of people are not going to agree with. Rob Zombie does not have a bad movie at all. I like every movie that Rob Zombie has put out.
Me too.
I mean, everything from Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween, Halloween 2, The Monsters, Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses, fucking Three from Hell,
Lords of Salem.
Lords of Salem.
I like all of his shit too, and I think that he is the most. People talk the most shit about him, and I keep thinking to myself, would people talk this shit about him if he hadn't have taken the Halloween franchise, like if he hadn't have directed the remakes? I don't think so. I think that all of the hate comes from Halloween purists who cannot stand that he took the Halloween franchise and made it the way that he wanted to do it. And the thing that like bothers me is I'm sitting here thinking to myself, he took the Michael Myers story and he made it more brutal, and he made it Rob Zombie he's inspired by grindhouse films from the 70s. He's inspired by like the fucking black exploitations, you know, the colorful language, the
Human Tornado.
yeah, the shit like that, you know, more gore, more blood, more colorful language, more sassy characters, more down-to-earth characters, you know. His movies have a common theme, and that is not all people are good people. And, you know, somehow they say, well, he trashed up the Halloween series. Like, we're talking about a fucking serial killer that dresses in a jumpsuit killing people. How trashy can you get?
Yeah.
Like, who gives
Exactly.
a fuck? Who gives a fuck if he created a backstory? You know why people shouldn't complain about the backstory? Because they have nothing to compare it to. If John Carpenter created a backstory for Michael Myers, and then Rob Zombie redid that, and you wanted to complain about it, sure. But there's nothing to complain about. The argument that they have is, well, Michael Myers doesn't need a background. Well, who the fuck are you to tell me that I don't want to see a Michael Myers background? Maybe I do want to see it. And maybe what I saw I liked. So, again, you fucking eat corn on the cob sideways.
Exactly. If you don't like it, go watch the first one.
Yeah, and like I said, it's become a trend in horror.
Just like Candyman. I hate the new one. I'll just take the first one.
It's become a trend in horror to hate Rob Zombie just because
it has.
everybody else hates him. It's like, oh, that's the new...
monster, and of course he's going to recast Jeremy Zombie.
Yeah.
Well, he does. Okay, well, if you're going to knock him for that, then you better get to knocking Tim Burton.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say. If you sit there and fucking praise Tim Burton and hate on Rob Zombie, Tim does the exact same thing.
My advice to you is, if you watch Rob Zombie directed films and you don't like them, do me a favor. The next time a movie comes out and directed by Rob Zombie, don't fucking watch it, you goddamn retard.
Yeah. Leave it be. Let's see. Next horror hot take. Oh. Rob Zombie is a better director than Jordan Peele.
I agree. And one of these things, again, there's another stigma in horror that just because you make complicated, in-depth, weird movies that somehow you're this pure genius of movies. I don't necessarily believe that. To me, there is very, very few Stanley Kubricks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can make a movie like The Shining that's a very complicated movie and people are not going to understand it. Hell, I've watched the movie 20 fucking plus times and I still can't understand it, but it's my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite psychological movies.
But like I said, just because somebody makes a film complicated doesn't mean that it's one of these movies. You know, well, a lot of these A24 movies are like that, like Hereditary. You know,
Right.
They want to say, look, this movie is smart and it's great, and if you can't see it, you don't have the intelligence level to comprehend it. Bullshit. It's a fucking boring, horrible movie. Plain and simple. I much rather watch a movie about simple yet complicated characters. I mean, depending on who you are in life. If you're a middle-class person and you're from fucking Virginia and you grew up where we grew up, the fucking characters in Devil's Rejects doesn't bother you because you've seen them before in public.
True.
If you grew up
California.
in fucking, you know, Iowa back in the sticks, you might not seen these types of people before. Or if you grew up in fucking Utah, you know.
No, more of your bigger cities, your New Yorks and shit like that. You're not used to these backwood, like redneck white.
I'm not
trash
talking
people.
about backwoods. I'm talking about real fucking violent people. I'm talking about people that walk through the supermarket and they fucking cuss each other out, and that's a normal conversation. Hey, do you want any of these fucking carrots, you fucking asshole?
Oh, okay, I get where you. Okay, all right.
And, you know, New York is definitely one of them. You're going to see those fucking types of horrible people, but you might not see it if, you know, you might think a boring day living in Utah is going skiing, and you're like, God damn, I wish there was something else to do here, Nancy. You know, and it's like, well, you know, you're paying $500 to go skiing. Your life is not that bad, so shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
But, yeah, it's another stigma to it that just because movies are complicated, that somehow they're good. And that's the...
No.
Excuse me. That's
Damn,
the approach.
talking about it makes you sick.
That's the approach that Jordan Peele is going for. And he's going for the M. Night Shyamalan thing. Instead of... M. Night Shyamalan's best movies are his most simplest movies. When he tries to overcomplicate the shit, it ends up sucking fucking ass. And that's, unfortunately, that's the way Jordan Peele is hitting, because you had Get Out and you had Us. They had a little bit of a common theme, but they were pretty good. Now every single movie that he comes out with has to have this complicated, long, drawn-out fucking plot to it that's just... I'm over it, and it's fucking boring.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like, what is fucking wrong with taking a knife and stabbing somebody in the fucking face with it? Why can't you show me that? Why do you have to zoom in on people's face and see a single teardrop? Like, that's not fear. That's fucking...
Sorry. We had a disruption, so we're having to pick up where we left off, where Todd was saying...
Yeah, stupid, I think, is where I was hitting to with the Jordan Peele approach, where, you know, everything has to be overcomplicated.
Yeah, we had a weather warning, even though it's 80 fucking degrees outside and clear and a beautiful spring day. Just fucked up everything for us. But back to the horror hot takes. We're going to go back over this. That the Scream franchise is the best solid franchise ever.
Yeah, I think from top to bottom, I don't hate any movie. Even if we talk a little shit about
Part 6.
You know, Part 6, it's still a good movie, you know what I mean? It's still, you can still pick out things that we, like, really like in it. And when it, like I said, when it hits, like, a streaming service, we'll be watching it again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talk shit about it, but I mean, it's unbeatable, like back to back to back to back. Solid good movies.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember. Did we talk about Nancy or not being the best final girl?
Nancy's from A Nightmare on Elm Street.
See, this is what happens when we have to go back. Sydney is what I meant.
Yeah, I think we talked about Sydney being the best because we talked about Sydney being the best final girl, and now we just talked about Scream being the most consistent franchise.
Hellraiser, hot take. Hellraiser has 3 to 4 good movies. The second one being the best. The rest are trash.
Yeah, I think anything after the 4th film, including the remake, can be thrown in the trash. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people are praising the requel. I don't know what you would consider the new one, a remake, a requel.
I was not impressed.
I thought it was boring. I didn't like it. It was not that great. It was very forgettable. Alcohol required. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise is the worst back-to-back, and out of the big 4 is the worst.
Yeah, it's the least consistent franchise. There's only 2 real movies that go back-to-back, and that is the remake and then Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning, which shows what happened before the remake. Everything else kind of loosely links to each other, but nothing is consistent in the film. And, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation is a completely horrible movie, completely forgettable except for Matthew McConaughey's performance in it. He was actually really good. You'll be talking about that if you haven't seen it and you see it. That's the only thing to talk about. Everything else in the movie was strange and not in a good way. It was like, they took what could have, what was a beloved franchise, and I don't know what they did.
They fucking ruined Leatherface.
Yeah, the Leatherface is just...
Oh, God damn.
Yeah, my God, he's not good in this. The whole movie sucks, except for Matthew McConaughey's performance. This movie would have been a whole lot better if they took the chainsaw title out of it, and they took Leatherface character out of it, and they just made it about a crazy family that lives off of the fucking... lives off of the highway and shit, and if you run across them, you're fucked, and have Matthew McConaughey be the leader of these crazy people. It would be a cult film by now, but it's not. It sucks.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's like that. It's it's insult. It's it insults you bad. Being it is what it is. Unfortunately, it exists. If you haven't seen it, watch it one good time just to see Matthew in it. Wes Craven's New Nightmare is my least favorite movie in the franchise. I don't consider the remake even exist, but if you put a gun to my head and I have to, yes, Wes Craven is above the remake. But that's it. I prefer Freddy's Dead over Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Yeah, I don't hate it as much as you do. I can put maybe 2-3 other movies in the franchise below this one, but
Yeah, I don't like the look of Freddy.
That's why we have these conversations.
I don't like the glove. There's nothing about it I like. I don't like the look. I don't like the story. I don't like how Freddy looks, which I get that he's not Freddy that's in the movies. He's quote unquote the real Freddy,
which somehow looks even more fake.
Yeah, it's it's just not good. I just can't get behind the movie.
I don't know.
I know a lot of people like it's in their top 3 or top 2 or favorite, honestly, from what I've seen.
For me, it's not the kills and it's not the look of it. To me, I like the story of it being a movie within a movie. That's probably the only defense I have that I like it.
I guess so. Next hot take. Ginger Snaps is overrated. It's as far as a werewolf movie goes, it's overrated.
Yeah, I can think of several other werewolf films that I like better than Ginger Snaps, including American Werewolf in London,
Being the all-time the GOAT.
Yeah, Bad Moon, which is underrated.
Yeah, Bad Moon is like, it goes hand in hand with American Werewolf in London for me. It's sometimes I'm like, man, you know what? I think I like this better than American Werewolf in London, but you just can't though.
Another one that I like better is Dog Soldiers.
Dog Soldiers is amazing.
I like
Wolf with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I like Wolf better. I like The Howling better.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, so, you know, Ginger Snaps is not a bad movie. It's just, you know, like I told you before, I think one of the main things that people praise this movie is because it wasn't a big theatrical movie. So, you know, it's kind of one of those under the radars, like, ooh, watch this movie, you know, and it kind of just got overrated. It's just a good movie. That's all it is. It's not like anything. It's the same thing I said about Drag Me to Hell. It's just a good movie. It's not anything to ride home about.
Right, exactly. It doesn't reinvent the wheel or anything. All right. Here's my next hot take for you, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that torture porn is the worst genre in horror, even triumphing zombies at this point.
Dude, there's one time where, you know, the Saw movies are okay, but after like 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, you know, all this shit, it's just got, oh God, it's like, it's the same movie. And it's, you know, I know other people go, well, you know, it's goddamn 12 Friday the 13th movies of them doing the same thing. Yeah, but it hits different for me. Like torture, there's no, like, Jigsaw is the face of this, but it's not like he's going out killing people and making it interesting. It's like traps. That's all it is, you know. And Hostel is like tying people up. I've told you, I think it's more like exciting to see a guy in a mask going killing people than it is to have people just tied up and torturing them. Like, you know, I'd rather have a really cool, quick, gory death than to just sit there and just hear somebody screaming all the time and because you're torturing them. Like, I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I think that Saw, Hostel, I mean, that's about as far as I really like that stuff. You know,
let me say this. You know, the movie that inspired all them was a movie called Cube, which was a Canadian film. It's a good movie as far as like setting the trend, but go back and watch that movie. It's not really a great movie. The dialogue in that movie is dog shit.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's really dog shit. So, but what actually happens in the movie is pretty cool. It's just the dialogue is just kind of dog shit, which is okay because, you know, it's kind of inspired a little bit by, you know, it not inspired by, but inspired kind of the direction of like the Saw films and stuff, basically putting people in a trap and trying to get them out. I guess if you really think about it, it's not so much Saw was influenced by it, but more modern movies like Escape Room and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it was more inspired by it.
Yeah, you also touched on, before we were rudely interrupted by the storm warning, that with torture porn, it's a lot of lazy writing. You know, a lot of shock stuff, like, you know, like raping a baby and shit like that. You know, it unnecessary. And that kind of shit's fucking sickening. It's not scary.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary, is what it is. How uncreative can you possibly be?
Yeah, people was talking about like a Siberian film and all this, and I'm a hardcore horror fan, and I'm not watching it. I'll tell you straight up, I'm not watching that shit. Like, to me, horror is great, and the bloody and gory parts of it is what makes it great, but I'm not watching a grown man, you know, rape a baby.
Yeah,
like
that's just unnecessary. I'm sorry, but
that doesn't even fall into horror category. That falls into like really sick shit.
Yeah, like you can get like I'll give you a scene when the mother makes her daughter go and get the wire hangers from the closet and beats her with it. That is how you get like hatred for a character. Like that's how you do that.
Yeah. Well, you know, let me throw in one of mine.
Go ahead.
You know, I think that Pumpkinhead is the most unused monster character in horror franchise. And when I say unused, I mean used to his potential.
Yeah, so much potential with that movie.
Because you have the first one with Lance Hickerson, and, you know, the second, third, and fourth are straight to video. And the second film is actually the first film that I actually seen in the franchise, because my local video store didn't have the first one. So I didn't even know there was a first Pumpkinhead. I mean, obviously I knew it was a first Pumpkinhead, but it took me a long time to go see it. And then, you know, part 3 and 4 were like Sci-Fi Channel movies that added a lot of the CGI and shit like that. So we only got about 2 movies where the actual Pumpkinhead suit was, you know, used or whatever. But I think, like I told you, man, we should have like 8 or 9 fucking Pumpkinhead movies by now.
Yeah, this should be like a solid franchise. Like,
yeah, we need somebody who, you know, is not scared to take a risk and, you know, introduce this new character to modern audiences that don't know who the hell he is, because legitimately Pumpkinhead growing up, I think of a lot of monster flicks, and none of them scared me quite like Pumpkinhead did. Pumpkinhead is scary, especially you show him in the right light and you hear that noise, and then he fucking pops up and shit. I mean, to me, it could be like, you know, some really scary shit. I mean, what's more scary than an 8-foot tall fucking demon?
Exactly. And the thing is you can do like a requel situation, because, I mean, all you got to do is just, you know, have your witch character, whatever, and tell them about, you know, the Pumpkinhead story, and then all of a sudden something happens to them, and then boom, you know,
I wouldn't
you
even
got
be
your new Ed Harley.
I wouldn't even be against a remake if that meant bringing the character some justice and reintroducing it to a new audience.
Yeah, you could pull a Hills Have Eyes moment.
You know, and, you know, you don't even have to do this theatrically. You know, one of these streaming services, get a hold of the fucking rights to it and fucking, you know, put it on there, but give it some fucking love, man.
Yeah, it needs some loving. The demon needs some loving, baby.
Yeah. Here's another hot take that I have written down. Don't Breathe Part 2 should not be. That character never should have been turned into a hero. He never should have been turned into like this anti-hero type of deal. The first film was perfect. It was satisfying because it led to a debate.
Was he right?
Was he right? Was he wrong? you got half the people saying, well, those kids deserve what they got because they broke into his home. But then again, he had women fucking tied up down there that he wanted to make a child with or whatever the fuck, right?
Because they took his child.
But like in the second film, they make him like this John Wick badass type
Yeah.
of dude. And part 2 never should have happened.
No.
So that's another hot take. I could do without Don't Breathe Part 2. It's not a bad movie. It's just
Unnecessary.
it's unnecessary, and it shouldn't happen.
and it fucks up the first one.
And these last couple ones that I personally have are geared more towards old school horror. And here's one of my hot takes, and I've said this before. This is not really anything surprising, but the first Frankenstein movie is fucking 10 times better than Bride of Frankenstein. If I hear one more fucking person say, Bride of Frankenstein is better than Frankenstein, I'm going to fucking puke. No, it's not. It's not better by any stretch of the fucking imagination. And here's another one.
I agree with you.
Mummy movies. Mummy movies did not get good until the fucking I guess it might have been 40s or 50s, might have been 50s. The first one with Christopher Lee in it. Every Mummy movie before that is fucking boring and it sucks. Even the ones with Barf.
Ralph!
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Carlos, what the fuck am I trying to say? I forgot his name. Carlos Barlow. What the fuck? What's his name? What's his name?
Carlos Barf. Better do that outside. No, my name's Barf.
Why can't he's what the fuck? It's like I fucking
It's Carlos.
I still can't say his Barlow. It's not Barloff.
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
Yes.
Barloff. Curtis Barloff. I don't know.
We're having a retarded
I
moment.
just fucking went retarded.
You pulled a me
But-
earlier.
Even the ones with him in it, I don't think are good. I don't think any Mummy movie has ever gotten good until Christopher Lee played the Mummy, and then years and years later when they did the ones with Brandon Fraser. That's just an opinion of mine. You might think that the older ones are great. I think they're all fucking boring and dog shit.
I think the ones with Brandon are the best.
The ones with Brandon Fraser are great. And to finish off my little Universal rant, here's something in general. There is a lot of vampire films. Most of them suck. Most vampire movies are not great at all. Christopher Lee done some great vampire flicks. You know, the original with help me out,
Bela Lugosi?
Bela Lugosi, the original Bela Lugosi, great flicks. I'm looking forward to seeing Renfield with Nicolas Cage coming out. The Lost Boys was a great vampire flick. Fright Night, in my opinion, the best use of vampires is movies like Fright Night, where you and The Lost Boys, where you put it in a modern setting. I don't necessarily like that old Dungeons and Dragons bullshit Draculas. I don't find them all that great. Like I said, Christopher Lee did a great job at it. He's probably the best, even better than Bela Lugosi in my opinion, as far as being the old school vampire.
Right.
I like movies that take it out, of that era. Like, you can still have it in that time frame. Like, Dracula came out in 1992. Bram Stoker's Dracula with Anthony Hopkins and Christopher Reeve and Gary Oldman and all these, Winona Ryder. That was a great fucking movie. Even Interview with the Vampire with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. That was pretty interesting. But, like, most of these, like, anybody can make a vampire film, and they're not very good. Like, it goes back to, like, the zombie thing. Like, when people there's too many fucking zombie TV shows and zombie movies, which gives it too much room to be crap. If we shorten this up and hold it prestige, I only want to see prestigious vampire films. I only want to see prestigious zombie films. I don't want to have to watch 10 movies and, find the diamond, find the diamond.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. So, to me, if you take into account all the vampire films, I would say half of them are crap.
Yeah, it's like very few. But to piggyback off of what you said, my favorite ones mostly take place during modern times, like Lost Boys, Vampire in Brooklyn, Buffy.
And speaking of that, there's a film that people praise that I watched that I think is just okay. And it has a great cast. Lance Hickerson and Bill Paxton play in it. And it's called Near Dark. Mm-hmm. It's an 80s vampire flick that people really, really, really love. And I watched it and thought it was really, really, really average.
I don't think I've watched it.
It's Bill Paxton, and they all do a great job. It's about like this clan of vampires. It's in modern day history. They go to like these bars and shit, and they feed on like these tough assholes or whatever.
Yeah.
And like one of the girls falls in love with a non-member of the clan, so they kind of like, they try to get him to, it's basically kind of like Lost Boys where they try to get Michael to join the group.
Yeah.
So they think, oh, well, what's trying to happen here? Are they trying to get this guy to join the group because he likes this girl, or are they trying to, like, what are they trying to do? Because if they wanted to kill him, they could have been done it. Like, what is the ulterior motive to this?
Right.
Or they just, like, want him to be a part of the group because he can go out during the day and get them supplies and they can't, maybe have one of those, it's like a Renfield type of butler type of thing. Like, while I'm asleep, Renfield, go get me, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a good movie, but it's one of those things where, you think Ginger Snaps is overrated.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I heard about it, and I'm like, it's a great movie. It's just not anything that blew my fucking mind.
Right.
So, yeah, if you have a chance to go back and watch it, it's a great movie. Just, it doesn't blow my mind. It's just another pretty good vampire movie. I wouldn't add it to the list of shit vampire movies, that's for sure. It's definitely on the other side of good ones. So
that's good. Some of my other horror hot takes. I hate saying this one, and it hurts my heart. Freddy vs. Jason is just not that good.
Yeah.
The best part about Freddy vs. Jason is the soundtrack.
The soundtrack is the best part.
We listened to it today.
Yeah. A lot of my favorite bands that I now listen to all the time, I discovered on that album. And the thing about Freddy vs. Jason is it's one of those movies that had been talked about for a long time, and we just kind of accepted what we got because that was like the best we could have got at that time.
Yeah.
But now looking back on it, it's literally been 20 years since that movie's been released. And looking back on it, I can honestly say that it should have been a lot better and a lot darker and a lot scarier, less comedic, less choreographed, like these kung fu fucking fighting scenes. It should have, the cast.
Jason looked like shit.
Yeah, Jason didn't look all that great. It should have been a whole hell of a lot better than what we got. But, you know, it was one of those things where you didn't want to hate it after you watched it, so you convinced yourself that what you saw was bullshit because you didn't think it could get any better. You know what I'm saying? You didn't think it could get any better. So, and we had been wanting to see these two people on screen at the same time doing their thing for a long, long time, and this is what we got, so we accepted it, so we bullshitted ourselves into thinking that it was a great movie, you know, movie of the decade as far as horror people, but it really isn't.
Yeah, there's a lot better. Another horror hot take. Shaun of the Dead isn't funny.
I laughed maybe the first time I seen it, but I don't think that it's rewatchable like Zombieland or some of the other comedy.
I think Zombieland's the best horror comedy.
Well, I don't know if I think it's the best horror comedy. It's definitely probably no.
What do you think's better than Zombieland?
I think Return of the Living Dead is better than Zombieland.
I think Zombieland's funnier.
I think Return is a better movie.
But we're like the comedy element is the main part, and I think Zombieland nails the comedy a lot better. It's more quotable.
Well, I get what you're saying, and I am disagreeing with it.
I know. I'm just telling you why I disagree with you. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, I like Return better.
Nah, Zombieland.
No.
But we can agree that Shaun is definitely not the best horror comedy.
Shaun of the Dead is overrated.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad movie. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's that funny. I mean, I'll take Zombieland 2 over Shaun of the Dead.
Well, I like both of the Zombieland movies.
Me too. But I'm just saying.
I don't hate Shaun of the Dead either, but, you know, it's been a while since I've seen it, but, yeah, I've never understand why people act like that's the only, like, horror comedy movie ever made for some reason.
Yeah.
Here's another one for you.
Okay.
I've said this before, so it's not shocking, but Hills Have Eyes remake is better than the first one.
Yeah. Hills Have Eyes remake is better than the original.
Sorry. But
yeah, it is.
Listen, the original Hills Have Eyes is a great movie. It's directed by Wes Craven. It's a legendary film, but when was it? 2005, 2006? I can't remember when it was remade, but I think that it took everything that the original did and it did it better. Unlike some of the other films that has been remade by him, I don't think that any film that Wes Craven has made that has been remade, like Last House on the Left, I thought that remake sucked. Nightmare on Elm Street, I thought that remake sucked. But Hills Have Eyes is the one that swung and hit a home run for me. So
Yeah.
and I think, I think the characters, I think they're pretty equal. However, I think the one guy that ends up being like the husband who kind of saves the day was way better than in the remake. So he was more sympathetic. He went through a lot more shit and came out the other side with his hand raised.
Right. I don't think we talked about this before we got cut off. I think The Thing is the best creature feature of all time.
Yeah, just in case we didn't get to that, I agree with you.
And you touched on that the remake that people talk about hating so much.
Oh, yeah. People, I forgot, 2009, 2010, I can't remember, but, it's just called The Thing, so I can see how you can think it was a remake. But,
Right.
you know, the reason that I found out it wasn't a remake is that I watched the goddamn movie,
Yeah.
which is what some people should have done, because the ending of this movie was the beginning of the John Carpenter's 1982 movie, which
Right.
which pointed me to like, holy shit, this is actually a prequel without promoting it as a prequel.
Yeah.
And plus, I love that prequel movie. I do. I really do love it. Is it more CGI? Yeah, but I can overlook it. I like the story. I like everything about it. I like the setting. If you put people out in a setting like that, and, you know, I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. I think it's one of the best, you know, beginning or continuations, whatever you want to say,
Yeah.
to an older film. And I think it did justice to. It's hard to do justice to a classic, and you know, I like it.
Here's another horror hot take. Well, I don't know if it's a horror hot take, but this is just my opinion. I think that John Carpenter has a better body of work than Wes Craven.
Oh, I do too. Like, I don't know if I've done my top 5 directors. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't. I don't remember.
we haven't.
But John Carpenter is like number 1, and everybody else I'd have to think about putting a spot, but there's no thinking about who number 1 is.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, I can't.
I mean, he gave me my favorite slasher of all time. He's given me my favorite creature feature of all time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. I think that if we talk, my personal favorite top 5 directors, 3 of them are American and 2 of them are Italian. And it's no secret that I think John Carpenter, Wes Craven, and George A. Romero are the 3 Americans.
yeah, I mean,
And Lucio Fulci and Dario Argento are the 2 ones left. And to me, those are the 5 greatest horror directors of all time.
yeah, that's your Mount Rushmore.
And that doesn't mean that you shit on people like Tobe Hooper or,
No,
you know,
no,
even to today, like Jordan Peele. We don't shit on them.
No, Jordan Peele, like, we might have shit on him, but I still believe that he has a love and an eye for horror, and I'll judge him more when he comes out with his next movie.
Yeah, and, you know, to me, those are what it is, you know. To me, if there is a 6th spot, it probably would go to, like, Tobe Hooper. But,
Yeah.
you know, that could be a theme for another show. Maybe we do a top 10 or top 15 favorite directors, whether, you know, we can point out multiple movies, or they might have just done that one movie that was so goddamn good, you know, we got to put them on the list. But we'll get to that later on.
That's for a later date.
All right, what else to wrap up this goddamn list of complaints?
I think we talked about aliens.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have any more horror hot takes?
No, I think I'm all hot taked out.
I'm hot taked out.
Oh, here's a hot take. It's not more of a hot take, but it's more of a fact. How come DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks, hell, even fucking downloadable covers can't be as fucking awesome as VHS covers?
I don't know.
How come VHS covers are so goddamn awesome and DVDs and Blu-rays look fucking awful for the most part?
I don't know. They're starting to get a lot better though.
Yeah, you'll get a lot. They're getting a little bit better with like these, like,
Shout Factory and stuff like that.
yeah, Broken Arrow is another one that does them, and Shout Factory, and Anchor Bay is another one that puts out some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, but for the most part, everything, I don't know, it feels like there's no effort put into, or no love put into, like, the covers. It's just like,
yeah,
it looks like something out of fucking, like, Windows 98. Like, it's not good. It's nothing that catches your eye.
it really ain't. I wish they would make a better effort. I think it's because, back when DVDs and Blu-rays were actually a big seller, they still sucked. But nowadays, now that, most people either do the video on demands or they do the streaming services,
Yeah.
I think they, the big companies give less than a shit, and I think that's why some of these other companies are releasing these cool covers, because they look at them like, hey, there's still collectors out there that want cool artwork. So
Myself.
the only problem is they price them at fucking $35.99.
Yeah, you're telling me. Because I thought all the new Halloween trilogy, like I showed you when I got them, I thought the Steelbooks had the best artwork.
Yeah.
So I went and rebought the goddamn things for the Steelbooks because they're fucking awesome, especially Halloween Ends. Halloween Ends has one of the best fucking covers in the Halloween series, honestly. But
I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to buy me a bunch of blank cases, and I'm going to print out just what I want the fucking cover to look at and just sliding it in the case. I know a lot of people used to do that when they used to sell illegals at the flea market.
yeah,
They would have,
you
like,
get
this
the,
little
printed out cover.
They have like this little sleeve, and they would just like do this little print out fucking thing on it. But I'd want it to look a little bit more professional than that. Get some of these cool, updated, like animated style drawings that look cool, and do it. But yeah, most covers fucking suck.
I got a hot take. I hate Elvira.
Really? I don't.
I do. I don't think she's funny. I think she's a terrible actress. And personally, I think she's a terrible human being.
Yeah. Well,
I think she's faker than a $2 bill, $3 bill.
I don't hate her.
$2 bills exist.
At
God.
one time, I thought I was going to hate her.
Stupid.
But I don't hate her. Fuck it. She's hustling like everybody else.
Fuck her.
Whatever.
I can't stand her. I think that's going to be it. I'm pretty satisfied.
Yeah. These one, pretty good list of hot takes and controversial.
Are You Afraid of the Dark is better than Goosebumps. Fight me.
Yep. I'm not going to fight you because I told you that.
Yeah, we're in agreement on that one.
Yeah. Here's a hot take for you. The fucking Scream television series that came on MTV was fucking awesome.
Oh, God, yeah. It was really fucking good.
It was really fucking good. And to be honest with you, it's better than the last probably 2 or 3 seasons of American Horror Story.
I'd agree with that.
So
there you go. American Horror Story has gone down since, I don't know, Coven?
Well, I didn't much like the Apocalypse show.
Yeah,
that
I
they
didn't really
did.
like Apocalypse.
And I watched about 10 minutes of this newer season, and I think
New York.
Yeah, I think it starts off with somebody in a bathtub. And
I watched the whole season, and man, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this one probably.
you ain't gonna get no flack. It's fucking faggoty. That's
Well-
what it is. It's pushing the fag shit on the rest of the world, and we don't like it. We don't care if you're a fag. We don't care if you're gay. We don't care what you identify as. Quit pushing it into our face like it's fucking important.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to get to. Like, this season is pretty much, it talks about, it pretty much brings up the idea that AIDS was a man-made thing, and put
Which-
into the gay community, which is
I
a
think
theory.
that that's probably true. I think that that's probably true. Conspiracy theory here. But yeah, I do think that's fucking true. I don't think that any disease that has ever been determined in this country that doesn't have if it doesn't have a cure, it was man-made. And the reason why I say that is because almost every disease been here, natural, has a natural cure for it as well. You just got to dig for it. There's a lot of fucking things that these fucking assholes do, and they call them scientists, they call them, working on this and fucking working on that, and then they fucking, they fucking fart and, break the fucking glass and it gets out into the public, or, whatever the fuck this works. Yeah, I don't think that AIDS just randomly popped up in the world and nobody knew about it, because if that was the case, a lot of people would have developed fucking AIDS in the 60s, where they were sharing fucking needles, having unprotected sex, and it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and nobody got fucking AIDS.
Well,
Nobody got fucking AIDS. And then you rush to the 80s, and now Reagan is the president, and he's one of the most conservative fuckers in the world, and now everybody that does, heathen shit has AIDS. Fuck out of here.
well, with this show, getting back to it.
Thank you for your social commentary.
Well, I mean, you have a interesting take that I have to digest because I haven't really thought about it. I mean, I believe that the government's very corrupt, and I believe that what you said is a very high possibility. But the show that we all know and love that takes things and pushes boundaries, it's always had gay stuff in American Horror Story, which I don't have a problem with. I don't.
But
mind.
it's never been the narrative. It's never been the focal point.
Right. It's just it's just what they are. But it's like, oh, gay and this disease and this killing gays. It was unnecessary. It was uncreative. It was just trying to.
They jumped on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
They jumped on the fucking leftist narrative bandwagon.
Yeah.
Is what they did, and they told us their stance without telling us their stance because of what they put in the show.
Yeah, I mean, it was like there was no like secret twisty or like being haunted or
it was
cult.
literally about a disease.
It was about AIDS. It was about the government making AIDS and killing them, but you think it's a killer the whole time, and it was nothing there. It was just death following them.
Yeah.
And it was unsatisfactory. Like, the stories didn't mean nothing. The characters I couldn't get behind. I mean, it was just like, it
was like, they're killing me because I'm gay. They don't like it because I'm gay because they don't want a population of gay people, so they're doing this to us. They're only doing us, poor us.
Yeah, which, I'm sorry, but if you're gay, I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, and you act like
I mean that in the most respectful way. Like, I'm sorry, but it's like me flaunting that I'm straight. Nobody cares.
Yeah, but the thing about this,
I care about what kind of fucking person you are.
The thing about this
How
show
are you as a
is-
human?
The thing about this show is, not only gay people got AIDS, right?
I'm aware.
You can get, fucking drug addicts and fucking straight people and everybody else who did heathen shit got AIDS too.
Well, they touch on that in the episode.
Yeah.
They don't leave that out.
Well, I haven't seen it, so I can't do too much.
That's why I stopped you before you said something you didn't know about.
Well, I know one thing.
I can tell you it just was unnecessary and it wasn't good. Sorry.
Yeah. Bye, Daddy.
You stupid. I think that's a good conclusion on the horror hot takes.
Yeah. I think we've let it out of our system.
I think we're pretty good. I think we need to come up with a countdown.
Yeah.
I think you touched on a good point with horror directors.
Oh yeah, we can do like, just talk about some of our favorite horror directors. Maybe some horror directors that done like one brilliant movie, but the rest of their movies suck. But for that one instant, they were brilliant. Or maybe a director that has like a whole fucking category of great films.
Yeah. I'm JT Ripper.
Now I'm Todd of Thunder saying, toodaloo, I'm gay. Toodaloo.
I fucking hate you. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
I got AIDS.